I'm learning Japanese. I think I'm learning Japanese. I really think so. Welcome to Sashimi Street. Today we have a special to commemorate the anniversary of the Northeast Japan earthquake and tsunami in March 11, 2011. The magnitude 9 earthquake with an epicenter 50 miles off the coast shook Tohoku, the northeast region, at 2:46 p.m. for 6 minutes. The earthquake was the most powerful earthquake ever recorded in Japan, and the fourth most in the world. The earthquake triggered tsunami that reached 100 feet and traveled as far as 6 miles inland. The damage from the tsunami at the nuclear power plant caused a nuclear meltdown. The disaster resulted in 20,000 deaths and 200,000 people displaced from their homes. Now, let's watch a clip that describes the events as they were reported in the news on March 11, 2011, the day of the Northeast Japan earthquake and tsunami. Some of the numbers have changed as more information came in the following days. 2:46 p.m. Magnitude 8.9 earthquake, 231 miles northeast of Tokyo. Within an hour after the quake, a wall of water up to 30 feet high washes over the coast. 8:15 p.m. Government declares emergency for nuclear power plants 180 miles from Tokyo. 10:29 p.m. Cooling system reported not working. Several thousand people are ordered to evacuate. Today's words and sentences. 3月11日、東北に地震が来ます。津波が来ます。原発はダメです。The earthquake in the Northeast Japan earthquake and tsunami was a magnitude 9 earthquake and lasted for 6 minutes. The clip shows the effects of an earthquake on a room in varying magnitudes. Magnitude 1, Magnitude 2, Magnitude 3, Magnitude 4, Magnitude 5, Magnitude 6, Magnitude 7. Today's fun facts about Japan. More than 70% of Japan consists of mountains, including more than 200 volcanoes. Mount Fuji, the tallest mountain in Japan, is an active volcano. There are around 1,500 earthquakes every year. The northeast region of Japan where the disaster occurred is called Tohoku. Although Japan is divided up into 47 prefectures, it is also divided up into 8 regions: Hokkaido, Tohoku, Kanto, Chubu, Kansai, Chugoku, Shikoku, Kyushu, and Okinawa. Similarly, in the US there are 50 states and 4 regions: Northeast, South, Midwest, and West. Boston is in the state of Massachusetts and in the northeast region of the US. In Japan, like the US, each region has its own distinct culture and dialect. This is a map of the Japanese dialects. The 90s Japanese rap song, Dayone, is a song about the phrase commonly used in the Kanto dialect to seek agreement or confirmation. It is similar to the British phrase, in it. The song has been parodied into 6 other variations that highlight a similarly used phrase in other regional dialects.
ちょっと聞いてけろ私の彼そこら辺のとわけだはずでおしゃれな彼で愛は私の方からささみすぎちょ聞いてちょ私の彼そこら辺のとは違うがねえらいおしゃれな彼で愛はティッシュ配りで一目惚れねえちょっと聞いてやうちの彼そこら辺のとは違うけねぶちおしゃれな彼で愛はうちの方から一目惚れねえちょっと聞いちゃり私の彼そこら辺のとは違うじゃんシャレかぶってツヤつけとうけどいっちゃんね一番好きじゃん
More words and sentences. 北海道、本州、四国、九州、東北、関東、中部、関西、中国、沖縄。Earthquakes occur with the shifting pieces of the Earth's crust, called tectonic plates. They are constantly moving and rubbing against each other. Japan sits on top of an active area where 4 tectonic plates meet. The clip uses dinner plates to show the tectonic plates that surround Japan. It also describes the mechanism that shifts the tectonic plates and causes earthquakes. You can see that the plates are not only next to each other, but also on top of each other. Each plate shifts with the movement of the free-flowing molten rocks between the plates and the Earth's core. The shifting plates cause friction in the areas where the plates meet, resulting in earthquakes. Yokai of the Day.
Yanari, meaning house creak, is a small troll-like yokai that shake the house and furnitures.
The epicenter of the earthquake in the Northeast Japan earthquake and tsunami was underwater 50 miles off the coast. It caused an upthrust of 20 to 25 feet along a 100-mile wide seabed, resulting in tsunami as high as 100 feet and traveling as far as 6 miles inland. The clip demonstrates the mechanism of a tsunami. It uses the popular board game Connect 4 to show the displacement of water caused by a shift in the fault line, which causes the water to rise and results in a tsunami. The red pieces represent the surface underwater, and the yellow pieces represent the water. The earthquake causes an upthrust in the ocean floor, moving water upwards. The water lifts the boat without damaging it. However, as the movement of water goes to shallow waters, it compounds into a more destructive force. Let's see it again. The nuclear power plants in Fukushima Prefecture were built to withstand earthquakes, but not tsunami. The tsunami damaged the emergency generator, which went into effect after the earthquake to keep the nuclear reactor cool. This resulted in nuclear meltdowns that released radioactive contamination. 100,000 people living within 12 miles of the area were evacuated. Due to the way radiation is depicted in popular culture, there is a misconception among younger people that it is some kind of toxic green fume. Radiation is a ray of energy that can break the chemical bonds in the DNA of a cell, which will disrupt its function and result in the mutation or the death of the cell. The clip shows the effects of radiation on a person's body. The person comes into contact with radioactive material, which releases atomic particles that goes into the cells and to the nucleus where the DNA is and breaks the chemical bonds in the DNA, damaging the cell. Proverb of the day. 雨降って地固まる. Rain falls, ground hardens. Similar proverb. Adversity builds character. Japan imports 90% of its energy resources. Since the 1960s, Japan has been increasing its reliance on nuclear power as a clean and reliable source of electricity. Before the disaster, 30% of the country's electricity came from the nuclear power plants. Isotopes are the fuel that nuclear power plants use to generate electricity. The short story tells how an isotope is different from regular atoms and how it creates energy to fuel power plants and bombs. The lonely isotope. Most atoms are stable and live in nuclear families, except for the isotope, which made him lonely. He was always bloated and would let off particles. He was so unstable that he would sometimes split. The other atoms would not bond with him. He tried to bond with the other isotopes, but they were just as unstable as he was. Then, one day, a man with white frizzy hair came up with a formula to use the energy that is released when an isotope splits. When an isotope splits, it loses mass, which turns into energy. The energy can be used in power plants and bombs. Now, people wanted him, and he was no longer lonely. The end. To commemorate the tragedy with the people of Boston, for several years after the Northeast Japan earthquake and tsunami, I organized an event in downtown Boston in March called Cranes on the Square in Copley Square. It was an interactive display in the downtown area where passers-by would participate in making paper cranes that they would place on the display. In Japan, cranes symbolize good fortune and long life, and people often make 1,000 paper cranes for a person to help them with their recovery.
I'm gonna tell you a story. I'm gonna tell you about my town. I'm gonna tell you a big fat story, baby. Yeah, it's all about my town. Yeah, down by the river, down by the banks of the river trough. Oh, that's where it's at, baby. That's where you find me, along with lovers, muggers, and thieves. Often there good people live. But I love that dirty water. Oh, Boston, you're my home. Oh, yeah. Frustrated women, I'm either frustrated. You have to be in by 12 o'clock. Oh, that's a shame, yeah. But I'm wishing and I'm hoping, oh, that just once those doors will knock. I like to save time, my baby, walk around, yeah. I love that dirty water. Oh, Boston, you're my home. Oh, yeah.
More recently, in 2021, in the midst of the pandemic, I wanted to commemorate the 10-year anniversary of the tragedy. I created a contact-free display of giant paper cranes on Copley Square in Boston.